Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, welcome back. Chase Thomas podcast, taping this on a Thursday evening where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. First timer way over there in Phoenix, Arizona, and somehow just maintaining that strong Buffalo Bills allegiance where the temperature could not be more different. The area could not be more different. But he's here. He is a diehard Buffalo Bills fan and writer, podcaster extraordinaire. Spence, Jefe, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the best Bills personalities on Twitter and everywhere else. Spence, how's it going?
You know what, Chase? Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. But it's going well, man. It's a good time to be a Bills fan. I know a lot of Bills fans aren't extremely happy because of all this stuff that we've been dealing with our offense over the last 2 weeks. But we're 4-2, and I think we got a good shot at winning this weekend. And I think we can get back in a good place as far as trying to be first in the division.
Are Bills fans not happy right now?
We're not. No, collectively,
okay, why?
We are not happy. So offensively, the team has struggled. And right now the fan base has been spoiled over the last several years. And we're used to seeing a high-powered, just high-efficient, and it hasn't been that. If you look at the last two games in the first half, really the first three quarters of each game, the Bills have struggled to score the ball. And then we scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. And, luckily this past week against the Giants, the Giants only scored 9 points. But in the week prior to that, you see we faced the Jaguars and they scored 25. So it was a little too late. And we just need to get some things, to a place where we don't expect teams to score, every drive. But we got to get back to a place where we're not being shut out in the first half or being shut out for three quarters.
Is it better year two with Ken Dorsey? Because I think that was like the scapegoat last year for the fall off with no Brian Dabble, and it was just like, oh, you lost the guy. It was just a better combination when you had Ken Dorsey be the QB coach, and then the offense, it seemed like they passed a lot more. They didn't have that kind of diversity that Bills fans came to know and love 2 years ago with Josh Allen. Like, is Ken Dorsey settled in, or is it still just a TBD in terms of what Ken Dorsey is actually as an OC in this league?
Man, it's honestly, it's tough to answer that question because you see both. So it's inconsistent, right? So like one game, you'll see a great run offense with our passing offense, and Josh is taking what the defense is giving him, and he'll be offensive player of the week for the AFC. And then you'll see another week where the game plan just looks completely different. And I know it's a week-to-week league, so you got to plan for who you're playing. But I think what the good teams do, whether it be offense or defensively, I think you play your game and you make the team that you're playing adjust to you. And when we go into games and we are adjusting, which is what's happening on defense with Ken Dorsey, or on offense, I should say, with Ken Dorsey, what happens is you're not getting the same production because you're almost like learning on the job every week, as opposed to coming out and just doing what works. And it's just upsetting because, for instance, Josh Allen in the league, he's number one in several categories when it's a play action pass. The last 2 weeks, we didn't even attempt a play action pass. So, those type of things are kind of concerning, but overall you can't be too upset. I mean, it was two tough games. The Buffalo Bills are third in points right now. I think we're sixth for total yards or something like that. So although like there's things that Bills fans can complain about just because we want to nitpick, I don't think that we really have too much to truthfully complain about.
Is the play action stuff more just the uncertainty with the running game? Like, why do you think that it's just kind of hit and miss with the play action right now?
Well, I think that's exactly it. So like the first 4 weeks of the season, maybe I would say 3 out of the first 4 weeks of the season, the running game looked like a true compliment to Josh Allen. And James Cook looked like a number one running back. Damian Harris, prior to his injury, we hope that he comes back, and can heal up from this neck injury that he suffered Sunday night. But outside of that injury, Damian Harris looked good. Just the run game in general has been very good for Josh Allen. And then you notice when we went to London to face Jacksonville, we had no run game to be found. So I think that's part of it. It's tough to even really run any type of play action if you're run, like James Cook had -4 yards on 5 carries that game. So it's tough to run play action when the defense is like, yeah, you better not run it or we're gonna sit you down. So this past week though, I don't know why, because James Cook looked good. We had some good. I felt like we had some good. I don't even want to say strategy for it. I just feel like we lined up against the Giants and we felt like we could run better than their defenders could stop us. And I think we did for the most part. But again, we just didn't do the things that Josh Allen is great with. He's a freak of nature. Like a lot of these quarterbacks, it's like, they're good. You put them in there and it's like, go ahead, play. But I think there's something to be said when okay, yeah, Patrick Mahomes can do everything, but he's great here. Josh Allen can do everything, but he's great here. I think when you find those offensive coordinators or head coaches that can put your quarterback in situations where they're always great, that's when you see the success that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes has together. Because Andy Reid is saying, no, Mahomes does this stuff well, even without Tyreek Hill, even without, this is what he does great. We're going to make sure this is what happens. So just looking for Dorsey to grow in that way when it comes to Josh.
Is James Cook, because there was a lot of hype coming into the year that James Cook, it was like his job now. He was going to be the lead back. He obviously was really good at Georgia a couple years ago. Is he just not an every down back? Has he just not lived up to the hype? Is it offensive line issues? Is it personnel issues? Why do you think James Cook kind of hasn't settled in there as the guy that a lot of people thought he was going to be coming into the year?
Well, I think that he has. I think that he just had, that game in Jacksonville was a really, 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 really bad game. Like, so, I mean, if you're going to classify something as horrible, that was a horrible game for him. But otherwise, if you look at the rest of the season, he hit 100 yards once. He came close to 100 yards another game. So there's games where he's getting above 60 and 70 yards, and he's scoring touchdowns now. He's still a part of the passing game. So I think it's his job. I just think, when you're in an offense where your best two players need to be involved in the passing game, so that being Josh Allen has to throw it and Stephon Diggs needs to catch it. I think there's only so much out of an RB1 for that team that you can really expect. I don't even think, I know the Bills are always like linked to like Derrick Henry or whatever big running back is possibly a free agent or a trade candidate. I don't even think the Bills would properly use a Derrick Henry if we had him, because the team is built to be around Josh Allen in his arm. You have a Stephon Diggs who needs to catch the ball. So I just don't see us ever really having a RB1. That's why I tell everybody before the season starts for fantasy football, like, yeah, if Cook is there, late, take him. He's going to give you some good points of value. But if you're trying to draft a strong running back in the first couple of rounds and you're depending on James Cook to be that, it's probably not the best case.
How much of James Cook, when you look at what he was a year ago versus now, what's been the biggest development for him as a running back?
To be honest, I think it's just opportunity. If you look at last year, he averaged, I believe it was like 5.3 or 5.4 yards per carry for the season. But he was behind Devin Singletary, who's now down in Houston, and he's doing a pretty good job backing up Pierce. But now that Cook has the opportunities, you're starting to see that, hey, he knows what he's doing. He's actually able, and it's not a fluke. That 5 yard per carry average is actually like, it's who he is as a running back. He knows how to hit the hole. He knows how to fall forward and fight for those yards while protecting the ball. So I think if we're able to see just some more opportunities, and I think with Damian Harris going down, I think it hasn't been announced yet, but I think the team is planning on bringing Ty Johnson from our practice squad up. And with that being the case, Ty Johnson's a good backup running back, but is going to be James Cook.
Would you have rather gone Leonard Fournette? Because I know that visit was canceled because it looks like Ty Johnson's going to come in there. Are you good with Ty Johnson instead of Fournette?
I'm good with Ty. I think with Fournette, when you look at Fournette, I think he's done some things in the past that makes you obviously want to kick the tires on it. But if you look at the last couple of years, I just think now it could have been just overall the way the year it's gone last year when it comes to the Buccaneers. It's Tom Brady's way out. So it's a bunch of different factors that can play into it. But over the last couple of years, I think the name is bigger than what the production will bring. And because of that, I think they will try to utilize him because of his name. And right now, I just think the running attack, this is the best running attack that we've had since Josh Allen has been quarterback. So I don't want to tamper with it. So bring Ty Johnson up. I don't want to bring any big names in and disrupt any of the chemistry that the run attack has so far. Keep it as is. Keep it as is.
I like it. Do you think right now, if you neutral site, you had to pick, who do you think is the better football team right now? The Miami Dolphins or the Buffalo Bills?
It's the Bills.
Why?
I think the Bills first have a better defense by far. I think Miami has done some good things that when you you bring in a defensive coordinator like they did, they brought in a good tight or a good cornerback who hopefully Ramsey, he'll be back soon. He was activated off IR or PUP list, so he's back to practice. So they made some good moves to help kind of booster that defense up. The thing is, I just don't know if I've seen it yet to where, because even they're winning games, but they're winning games because the offense is what the offense is. Whenever they go up against a good defense, they don't look the same. And you saw what happened in Buffalo. Granted, that wasn't it wasn't the type of game that you're talking about where we're on a neutral field and there's no Bills Mafia or there's no Dolphins fans to go crazy. But I think what it all comes down to, Josh Allen he's 6-1, or no, it's probably even better than that. But I think the last like 7 games, he's been 6-1 against this Miami Dolphins team. He wins by like an average of like 30 something points. And out of 8 games or out of 9 games, he's won the offensive player of the week 5 times against them. I'm not worried about the Dolphins until they can really figure out defensively how to stop Josh Allen. I'm not worried.
So when you hear the national media and a lot of folks talk about the Dolphins offense, and it's just fun to watch, like the Dolphins are genuinely a really fun offense to watch. I mean, when you hear that, you're like, well, what do they actually do better than the Bills? What do you, like, on the outside looking in, what do they actually, you feel like this is an advantage that they do have it over the Bills?
I think that their play calling and play design is amazing. I think offensively, what they have right now as a system, whether you want to call it Tua a system quarterback or not, he's making it happen. I don't call him a system quarterback. I think he's deadly accurate. I think his wide receivers are creating space and they're getting open. So one of the things that they do, I think they support their quarterback, and I think that they have good wide receiver play. Whereas for the Bills right now, after Stephon Diggs, I'm not too. I know people love Gabe Davis. To me, Gabe Davis is hit or miss. Like he's a fam or it's like one game you might get 3 touchdowns and 150 yards, and then for 4 weeks you might get 30 yards and maybe a touchdown over the course of 4 weeks, and that just can't happen when that's your wide receiver too. So I think what they have down there with Jalen Waddle, what they have down there with Tyreek Hill, then their run game. I mean, like they have a running back on injured reserve right now who is 3rd in league rushing. Like he's been out for a couple of weeks and he's still 3rd in rushing. So it just shows you the type of talent that they have. And so offensively, I do think that they're going to destroy teams for the rest of the year. I don't even think it's going to be surprising that they're going to be there when it's all said and done. But I just think overall, defensively, it matters. You can have the greatest offense in the world, but unless you can stop the other team at all, it won't matter much.
Well, let's say the Dolphins finish 12-5 and they win the AFC East outright, and the Bills go into the playoffs as a wild card team. In your estimation, do you think this Bills team is built to run the gauntlet on the road throughout and make the Super Bowl?
I think this team is more than any team that we've had. So before we've depended on only Josh Allen, right? So like if Josh Allen doesn't have a good game or a great game, there's no way the Bills are winning. This year, I think what we've seen is that, like I talked about, this is the best running game that we've had since Josh Allen has been the quarterback. So we've seen games where the running attack has actually kind of sort of been the focal point, and then Josh just picked and he kind of took what he wanted outside of the running game. And if you want to go back and look, that's actually what happened against Miami. We ran the ball and we ran it consistently. And then Josh, I mean, it was a bunch of drop-offs. It was a bunch of, little slants and dig routes and stuff like that. It wasn't many bombs where Josh was just out there looking like, the Josh of old, where he's taking a shot every play. So I think now what ends up happening is in the playoffs, if you can't run the ball, you're really probably not going to win. And we have the defense to do it. Now we have the run game to do it. And then for those games when you go up against a Patrick Mahomes where you have to go back for, the 13 seconds game. I know we lost, but if you go back and you look at Josh's performance, he went toe-to-toe with Mahomes. So, games like that, when you need Josh to do it, he has the ability to do it. But now you have other things that you can depend on, like your run game, like your defense. So this year, I'm more confident in the ability to do it. I don't know if this is our year to do it, but I think if it came down to it, we have the team to do it.
I like it. Is it the Chiefs? Is that your biggest fear? Like, depending on matchups, if you, like, based on what you've looked at around the league and what you know about this Bills team better than anybody else, like, who is the worst matchup? Is it the Chiefs? Is that who you would love to avoid more than anybody else? I understand the Chiefs being, like, it's amazing that the Chiefs are 5-1 and it doesn't feel like it at all. And I think it's literally just because their defense is good. So it doesn't feel like the Chiefs are as good just because they have a top 10 defense for the first time in forever, that it's just weird that the offense isn't bad. It's just not better than the defense at this point in the year, which is great for the Chiefs, honestly, because that's a scary thought when you consider that the Chiefs are probably going to get better offensively, and the defense being what it is pretty amazing. Is it the Chiefs or is it somebody else that you actually think is a sneaky bad matchup for the Bills in a one-game elimination?
Well, are you talking just AFC or are you
just
talking
AFC,
NFL?
Yeah.
Just AFC. I would probably for the conversation that I just had there, I would probably say the Chiefs because, like you mentioned, at any point, they haven't been scoring the points that we're used to seeing a Patrick Mahomes offense put up, but they can, like at any point, it could be the game where they decide to put 45 on a team. Yeah. And then if you add the defense like they have now, and then you look at Pacheco running the way he's running, absolutely it's the Chiefs. And then if I'm going to flip to the NFC, I'm going to go to San Francisco 49ers every time. I think they're the best team in the NFL, and I don't think it's close.
I like it. Is there any, like, for Bills fans, what does Sean McDermott have to do this year to keep Bills fans happy that he's the guy?
That's a loaded question. I know you didn't think it was a loaded question, but that's a loaded question. Bills Mafia is an interesting fan base, man. We're not happy with a lot of things. We nitpick when it really isn't much space to nitpick. What I will say, the grand scheme of things, if we can make it back to the AFC Championship game, or if we can make it to the Super Bowl, we don't have to win it. Oh, we would love to win it. But I think to make fans happy, he just has to get back to a championship game. We made it to the AFC Championship a few years back, and then we lost there to the Chiefs. Then we lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs, and then last year we lost in the divisional round to the Bengals. So it just feels like at this point that we're almost stuck in that divisional round again. And the Bills fans that I know, everybody would love to see us get back to a championship game or to get past the championship game and actually make it to Vegas. I got plans on being in Vegas in February, so I'm hoping that it's to watch my team.
Okay. If you lose to the Chiefs in the AFC title game and it's close, are Bills fans like, we'll eventually get over it? Like, it's a good spot to be in. We're fine. But if they lose to, like, man, who'd be a tough one? I guess maybe like the Ravens, maybe the Browns, if this defense continues and Deshaun Watson gets back on track, maybe they're hosting a playoff game and you lose there in an ugly one. Because, I mean, they just made San Francisco look silly on Sunday. So they're just teams that you're just like, man, I don't think they're great, but you just don't want to play them because it just feels like the weather's going to be terrible and they're just Myles Garrett's doing crossovers, lining up against your right tackle, left tackle, whoever it is. It's just, it's a little scary because I think their defense is for real, but there are matchups in this league like that. I mean, I'm very curious to see if the Bills can ultimately get over the hump. Final question on just the coaching staff and where the Bills are. Leslie Frazier's absence, and you look at how the defense, we haven't really talked about the Bills' defense this year. Have you noticed any significant changes to the way the defense is played, personnel, kind of some tendencies from this year's Bills defense versus the last couple under Leslie, or has it been kind of like just the system is the system and McDermott and company are picking up where Leslie Frazier left off?
Yeah, no, great question. I've actually noticed that McDermott is a far more aggressive defensive coordinator than Leslie Frazier. So there's a lot of the same pieces. Like, you notice a lot of the same ingredients. You know, a lot of the, just in general, the way the setup is, the way that the defense looks. We have that, it's like a big nickel. So we always have, 3 safeties out there, or 3 corners and 2 safeties. So there's always a certain look, but the play calls are different. We're getting to the quarterback more and not just pressure. With Leslie Frazier, we basically were one of the teams almost consistently every year. We were like top 5 every year in pressures on the quarterback, but we were like bottom 5 in sacks. That's not the case this year. This year, there was one game, I think we got 9 sacks, and then another, so the defense is hungry and they're getting to the quarterback. And then even on top of that, I think dealing with the injuries that we've dealt with, I think Sean McDermott has had to be a little more creative to mask certain deficiencies that the defense may have. I mean, Matt Milano went out against the Jaguars. That was a huge loss.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White, Daquan, like we've had some huge losses this season.
And Milano's
already.
gone for the year, right?
He's out for the year. Yeah. And then I think Daquan Jones might be as well. Trey White is for sure with his Achilles tear. So, those are big losses when you're losing 2 all-pro players on your defense. So what we've seen Sean McDermott do to mask a lot of those holes, it's been nothing short of impressive. We lost against the Jaguars 25-20. The way Calvin Ridley cooked, he cooked Kyer Elam. We probably should have lost that game 40-10. But Sean McDermott still kept it close. Josh Allen was able to come back in the fourth quarter. But I've been very, very surprised in a pleasant way and very pleased with the defense for this entire season.
I like it. Well, Spence, what can the good folks check out from you all across the podcast network, Buffalo Rumblings, and everywhere else this week?
Yeah, well, check out Buffalo Rumblings all week. We have everything coming to you for this Patriots week. Used to be a huge week for us.
Yeah, it's definitely
it's so weird. Yeah, like now, it used to be our Super Bowl in a way when Tom Brady was coming to town, or we had to play Tom Brady. It's like, we're gonna beat him this year, man, and that was our Super Bowl. Now it's like, all right, let's get back to Buffalo healthy. That's the way we look at this game, which sounds sad. But we have a bunch of articles and a bunch of pods going up this week. Check me out this weekend. I'll be doing pregame rumblings actually this weekend, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And that game is just a game day pod where I kind of break down everything that you need to know about the game, give you a couple good parlays that you might want to bet to see if you want to put some extra money in your pocket. And hey, just have a good time. I love all content. So if you want to talk to me about it doesn't have to be the Bills, doesn't have to be football. We can talk basketball. The season is back next week. I'm ready for it. So hey, just follow me on any platform. I'll follow back and we can talk sports. Let's go.
There you go. I mean, also, if you're a Bills fan, like the one thing you can get up for is like maybe this, like if you can really embarrass Bill enough, like maybe you're the team, like you're the weak, like I think everybody wants to be the team now. You can get up for this Patriots team is like, can we beat them bad enough where they fire Bill Belichick in the middle of the week? Like, is that where we're at? Yeah. I think we're close. I think we're close. Okay. We're at 1-5. Like this is uncharted waters for the Pats. And I think if it gets bad enough, yeah, I mean, if they look helpless and they're getting embarrassed on national television week over week, and the offense, which I don't think can be fixed at this point, and the defense just getting destroyed by injuries, like, I mean, it's just, I think owners really, really hate being embarrassed on national television week over week, and I just think it's such a what have you done for me lately league that, like, hey, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Thanks for the memories, but like this, I can't keep accepting these embarrassing L's in public. So I mean, if you're a Bills fan, you're like, let's beat them 45-3. Let's see what happens.
Let's do it. Let's knock them out. Let's get another, like the divisional playoff. No, it wasn't divisional that year. That was the Super Wildcard weekend. We didn't have a punt. We beat them 47-10. Let's do that again. Let's knock them out. But
I mean, if they go 3-14, I don't think Bill makes the whole year. I don't think you make 17 games at that bad of a clip.
I guess that's my question, because I think I agree with you. You get rid of him at this point. But to me, I feel like because of his legacy and what he's brought to that organization, I feel like they almost say, okay, we're just going to chalk this season up. You're going to retire at the end of the year, though. Like, it's one of those conversations like, we're not going to fire you. This won't go on your resume as a fire, but you're going to have to,
I just don't think he's going to retire, though, because I think he's going to pop up immediately somewhere else. I don't think he's getting the GM privileges ever again, but I think he pops back up right away.
Well, it'd be interesting, but no, I'm with you. I think this is his last year in New England. It has to be. It has to be.
And if you're Ron Rivera, you're looking over your shoulder because it just feels like Bill Parcells' his mentor, and I'm just like, that's right there. New ownership, everything else. Like, I think he has some ties to that area. He loves lacrosse. He can go watch some lacrosse over in the DMV. I don't know. My gut tells me he's the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. It's my guess. Maybe he's president of ops, like the Dolphins for Parcells. I don't know.
Well, Ron Rivera isn't living up to the job, know. So
well, they did beat my Falcons this past week, so that was pretty brutal. Even though the Falcons outgained about like 400 yards, and it was like the Falcons finally have a good defense, and it just doesn't matter because the offense just can't get out of its own way.
They just know how to lose on offense, and I don't get it.
No, we're having fun. Great Spence, it's great. I'm having a great time. I love it. Like I love Desmond Ridder. I'm having a great time. I get to Joe Milton on Saturdays and Desmond Ridder on Sundays. It's fantastic. I'm having a great football watching weekend every week. Braves are still playing postseason baseball. No, it's all great. Everything's good, man.
Hey, the Diamondbacks won tonight. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
I mean, that's great. They're still probably not winning the series. I still think
No, they're
Phillies
not going to win.
Yeah.
They're not going to win. But it's just incredible that we're here. I remember when the season started, everybody kept telling me, well, because again, I'm not from here. I'm from Buffalo, New York, born and raised. So I'm coming out here, and obviously the Cardinals aren't good. I got season tickets.
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks aren't good. I didn't get season tickets. So it's like everybody kept saying, oh, they're going to suck again. You don't want to.
Yeah.
And here we are. Here we are.
Chase Field. I got the name over there.
You got it.
I mean, and we might have Kyler Murray. Like, I'm not, if Kyler gets traded, I feel like the Falcons still just make a lot of sense for Kyler. And he's back a little bit earlier than expected. I thought he would sit the whole year. I thought he'd be like,
you know what?
I'm not coming back.
I'm with you. I think either Atlanta, or I even told some Giants fans that, you know, if they could figure out how to get out from under Daniel Jones' contract, or if just bite the bullet, because out here they are aggressively and actively speaking about how they're probably going to be looking at Caleb if they're in position to do so. So they're
problem with that
not
is,
even
though,
hiding.
I don't think Josh Bidwell strikes me as the guy who's given up some equity and ownership to Caleb Williams out of the draft. I don't think Bidwell is the kind of owner that's going to do it. And that came out, and who knows how much that actually plays into it, but I don't know.
I don't know how true it. I mean, I know these stories come out, and I know what play, but it's like, how do you give? And this is just me. Maybe this is coming from an ignorant place of thinking, but how do you give someone, a rookie who's never played a snap in the league, that much power? Like
it's also like, what happens if you get traded? Do you have to sell your ownership stakes? Like, how does that work?
You get traded or you get injured, and then like, what if you have a life, like a serious injury that makes you retire your first or second year, God forbid. But say something like that happens, so what? All right, well, I still gave you a lifelong contract and you got partial ownership of my team. No, of course not. No, you earned it.
It's also like just the goal. Like, more and more athletes are becoming owners. Like, LeBron's about to own the Vegas NBA team when he retires, but LeBron's not going to own equity in the Lakers right now. All he's doing, it's just like, there's a path. Like, Caleb, if you're good for 10 years, 12 years in the NFL, like, Tom Brady's a minority owner of the Raiders. Like, it's just, I think that's just going to become more and more common. I think Shaq's a minority owner for the Kings. Like, it's just Grant Hill is with the Hawks, and I don't know. I just think there's a path. Like, it's going to happen, but like, that's pretty wild. Like, coming in the league, like, I want a piece.
Isn't Steph Curry a minority owner for the Panthers or something? I could be wrong. I felt like he was part of that
Mahomes is with
group.
the Chiefs or the Royals. I know Mahomes has got the Royals, Kansas City, so he's in with that. But I think Steph, he might be a minority owner with the Panthers.
Well, it's gonna be common. I agree with you, but I don't think you do it with rookies coming out of the draft. It's insane, and I don't care how bad your team is.
Yeah. That's also it looks a bad look, like a desperation, where it's like, we'll give you whatever, just please agree to come out to the NFL draft, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We have a lot of time before all of that. Go check out Buffalo Rumblings. Go listen to Spence all across podcasts, preview shows, all that good stuff, as the Buffalo Bills look to get back to the AFC title game, and we'll see what happens with this Buffalo Bills team, one of the best teams in the AFC again this year. Spence, thank you so much for making the time this evening. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Thank you, sir.